I looked through the scope, but all I could see was hair. He crapped his pants, and blood was just flowing down his face. I mean, the van was sinking as I was there in the van. So here I was, covered in sand, buried up to my neck. This is a dangerous situation. They kill people for this. All of a sudden I thought to myself, what if that bear's not dead? I got my knife out and I just started running down the hill. We're gonna ride this deer down the side of the mountain. Oh, there's nothing like boar hunting. Ooh. Facial wounds bleed unbelievable. And then all of a sudden he reached in and he got me. And he scarred me right down the side of my arm. And I thought, honestly, I'm dead. And I've got a live bear, a foot and a half away. Yeah, I wanted to go bear hunting. I'd never been bear hunting before, and I decided to try to find the best place in Ontario.
So this is your first bear hunt?
Yeah, first bear hunt. I wanted to find the best place in Ontario to go hunt for a bear. And so I decided to send out notes to all kinds of people. They sent these nice slick brochures and everything else. Remember I told you that I like a real adventure. I want somebody who takes me into the real wilderness, and I got to fight to survive for this kind of thing. So in the midst of writing to all these people, I got all these slick ads that came back, and I got one was just an envelope with my name on the outside of it, and I opened it up as a piece of paper, and it said BDGINO and a phone number. And I thought, where's the ad? There's no ad. Now that intrigued me. So I decided I'd call this number. So I called the number. A guy named Bill Ritchie answers the phone. Full-blooded Cree Indian, his wife full French. And what this guy is, he is absolutely lives to bear hunt. That's his world. He has no other thing to do than to bear hunt. And this is the dude. And I thought, man, I said, do you have anything about bear? He said, I will get you a bear every time you come. I guarantee it. I guarantee I'll get you a bear every time. Well, this guy was intriguing. You think I have stories? This guy has stories. And he does the entire day is just sit at a table and entertains people with these stories that he would tell. So I thought, whatever. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to come and join you. He goes, you know what? If you do, he said, I guarantee your elk every time. I said, you do? And he goes, absolutely.
Your bear?
Yeah, my bear. I said, what is this BDGINO thing? He said, best damn guide in Northern Ontario. I said, you're pretty cocky to say that. He goes, but I'll get your bear for you every year. And I thought, you kidding me? He goes, no, man, I'll make that happen. And every year we went, every year we would go, we would take a bear every year. And different sizes, some great bears we were taking out of this area. I mean, absolutely, great bear. But the one bear that I remember, of all things, well, maybe two bears. But the one bear that I remember...
We got time.
Yeah, one bear that I remember was where all of a sudden he had us up on the side of a hillside, and it was the very last day of the hunt. He was driving back and forth, and he said, you know what? He said, I know you haven't shot your bear. I know this is the last day. He said, but I went by this little area. This is on the road that leads to James Bay, Hudson Bay. I mean, we're way up there. And he goes, when I went drive, he said there was a bunch of it was a garbage can at a roadside stop, and he said it was knocked over. And I put all the garbage back up. I went and checked out some more of the bait places where we had the bear hitting. Came back and it knocked over again. He said, I think that's where that bear is. He said, and it hits every night. He's been hitting. I'm going to take you out there where that bear is. And I said, really? He goes, oh yeah, I got it made. So he takes me out there and he goes, I don't have anything prepared here. So what I want you to do is sit on the ground. And I'm going to go over here and cut about 3 or 4 of these little Christmas trees, and I'm going to pile them around you, and you sit here and you wait for the bear to come. Now, the only challenge is I'm using black powder guns this time, because rather than using regular rifles, I decided to do something a little bit adventurous, It's like some of the moose hunts and other things we've gone on. We would sometimes try different kinds of weapons just to see how we could kind of be hunter versus the wild kingdom. Kind of thing.
Sure.
So we're waiting, and all of a sudden he said, sit on the ground. He said he cut the trees, put them around me, everything else. He said, don't worry. He said, because in back of you there's a road, and bears don't like to cross roads. So he's going to come from somewhere in front of you, so don't worry. I thought, okay, you're the master guide here. We'll see what happens. So we would sit there, and all of a sudden we'd be waiting, and then all of a sudden I was watching the bait area, seeing what was going on. And of course, we get this little thing where a bear would come, or you'd think you'd hear a bear in the area, because they'll walk around sometimes before they actually come in. You have to be very careful with that. So I was sitting there thinking about the bear and what I was going through and everything else, looking at my gun, making sure it would actually fire. And in the process of doing that, all of a sudden I thought, I got to go to the bathroom. And I thought, I can't stand up. These Christmas trees are around. If I stand up, the bear will go away. So I thought, I'll just go to the bathroom right now. So I reached down and went to the bathroom, got finished, and all of a sudden I reached in my pocket because I needed something to cover up the scent. And I had some apple scent from deer hunting. And I thought, I'll take that. So I sprinkled it on the ground in between my legs. And all of a sudden I thought, there I go. All of a sudden I heard this like a 50-gallon drum roll down and back of me. And I thought, what in the world? And I turned and I looked through these little trees that I was setting inside. Just these little trees, is all that I had. I look over to the side, and all I could see is this nose right by my face. And I thought to myself, this must be an older bear because he's got a lot of brown on the front part of his nose.
Just snuck up on you.
Yeah, just standing there. And they're really quiet. You know, you really don't know what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
But he was rolling through this brush off this hillside. And next thing I know, I just heard the noise. I turned, and here was his nose. And I thought, huh, he looks a little older because he's got a lot of brown. And then I thought, oh my God, that's a bear right there. I mean, right there is a bear on the other side of this sapling. And I thought, what in the world? So I watched him, and he went around, and then he came around, and he went around back of me and came to this side. And when I did, I looked at him, and he was trying to move his arms inside of where I was. And I thought, what is this bear doing? This bear's trying to get at me. He doesn't know I'm here. But what is he trying to do? I thought, oh, it's that apple scent in between my legs. And I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden this thing is going to get into me, and it's going to be a bad deal. So I went around the other side, and I was sitting there. I didn't know what to do because my gun was kind of cocked sideways. And then all of a sudden he reached in, and he got me. And he scarred me right down the side of my arm. And I thought, honestly, I'm dead. That's what I thought. I just came to a peace about it and thought, I'm dead because there's nobody around. And I've got a live bear, you know, a foot and a half away.
I'm covered in apple scent.
And I'm covered in apple scent. And I thought, you know what? It's all over. It's all over. It is all over. And I watched him, and I thought, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I mean, he won't scare away because these are wilderness bears. And they're not scared by people as much as they are scared by, you know, well, needing food, wanting food. And I got food right here between my legs. So all of a sudden I'm looking at this thing, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, what in the world is going to happen? And all of a sudden he turns around and he moves around another direction, and I thought, how can I get him away? And I thought, maybe I'll do something like that to do. So he came around the side, and I thought, this is it. And then finally, and he was trying to reach in and scratch. And all of a sudden he goes, I go, and you know what? He just stood there. He didn't move. And I thought, well, that was the last weapon I had. I've got my gun, but I can't get my gun moved because he's standing there so close. Oh man, that was a terrible situation. Finally, he broke from the pattern, went over, stood, shot him, and then he ran off into the woods. And when you shoot a bear, you listen to what's called the death cry. It sounds like a person that's groaning. It's unbelievable. When you're in the middle of the wilderness, there's nothing around, you hear this, oh, oh. This thing goes on for sometimes two or three.
You're calling your dog in right now.
Jack's coming in. Sorry, Jack. Okay, no problem. Jack is all nervous, thinking, is there a bear here, Dad? Is there a bear we should be attacking?
You're okay.
So all of a sudden, this bear comes over, and I shoot the bear, and I'm thinking, what in the world is happening? You're ready, aren't you? You think it was, I made the noise really good, didn't I? Yeah. So anyway, that was that part of it. So the next year I came back, and I decided I was going to try the same thing. He goes, I got a place for you.
So what, did the bear go away? So that bear went away.
The bear went away. I shot the bear and brought the bear back. He came that night, and he goes,
you shot that
how did
bear.
you do? And he goes, yeah. He said,
Okay.
I shot a bear. And he goes, where? And I said, it's laying right over there.
Right.
Thank God it didn't take 2 days.
And he showed
to
up
find
2
that
days
bear.
later?
But anyway, he goes over and he goes, yep, it's over here. So anyway, we get the bear, put it back, and we drive it back to the camp and everything else. I can't believe that I actually shot this bear my last day that I was there. But probably the greatest adventure for a bear was one day when we were hunting a year later. And I went out and dropped off 2 other hunters. And then I was at the end of the chain. And then I was to get back in the van that we had, drive back, pick up the other 2 hunters, and come back into the camp. And this was on the road, the main road that goes up to Hudson Bay. The only challenge is there aren't a lot of cars that are on this road because this is kind of a lonely road. There's really no gas stations along the way. You've got to take extra gas to get there. So I was sitting there, and I decided to go in, and I decided to go in early that day. Dropped off the other 2 hunters, got to the end of the road, came up, climbed up a tree, and got into a stand, and I thought I'm going to wait for my bear to come in. So I waited, and usually they'll come in like maybe 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, right at dusk. So I'm waiting. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, this big black bear comes walking in. I thought, holy smokes, this is my bear. And so I picked up the gun and I was watching the bear and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and shoot this bear. And when I shoot this bear, I'm going to make a full mount out of this bear. I mean, full-size mount. I had it all planned in my head. And all of a sudden, I got ready to go. And all of a sudden, the bear came over. And just as he came over, I pulled up on him. He was looking around. He stopped and I shot. And as soon as I shot, that bear just dropped. Just dropped. And I thought, holy smokes, this bear's not going to run anywhere. I mean, he actually dropped right there. So I climbed down out of the tree. And I thought, I'm going to go over and, see if the bear's dead. But then, my practical side, my real sense of, how do you want to call this, survival, said to me, it's probably best that you not go over to that bear and try to see if it's dead. Or you will be. Instead of him, you will be.
Yeah.
So I thought, what I'm going to do is to go over and I'll just kind of poke him. And they said, if you just touch the bear's eye and he doesn't move, that's his response thing. So I did, touched it, and you know what? The bear was dead. And I thought, this is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I can't stay out here all night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the bear, put it in the back of the van, and go back. Pick up the other guys, and then go pick them up or something later on in the evening. So I took the bear, and I put the bear, crawled over, and I took my belt off, and I grabbed around the bear, and I drug this bear down to the road. Now, the road was just a sandy road that was back in the
Like a
middle.
logging road?
It was a logging road.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a logging camp just before. And I thought, I'll go by that logging camp. I know where I'm at. I can get back into the main road. So as I got ready to go, I dragged the bear over and I tried to put the bear in the back end of a van. It's the first time I ever did that. Usually the guides will come and help do that kind of thing. But I thought, hey, I'm out here with myself. I'll do it. So I picked up that bear. And when I did, I discovered that a bear smells. And the second thing I discovered was that bear's a little closer to my face than I really thought that I wanted to be for a bear, even if it was dead. And number three, as soon as you pick a bear up, everything kind of slides down to the bottom. I mean, it's like you can't move this bear. It's just like a blob.
Like a bag of water.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So I worked out a situation where I got a rope and I went up to the front and I run a rope down this very center of the console of the van. I tied it on and then I pulled the rope from the other side trying to get the thing up and get it into the back. Finally got in the back of the van. And I thought, man, I can't believe this. So I closed it up and I started driving down the road. And when I did, I had a Pepsi can sitting on the dashboard. And I was going around a corner and my Pepsi can started to slide. And I held this Pepsi because it was my Celebration Pepsi. And I went to reach for it. And when I did, I turned the wheel and off the road I went. And I put the entire van into a marsh. I mean, the van was sinking as I was there in the van. And I thought, I got to get out of here. So I had to unroll the window. I couldn't open the door up. All I could do is undo the window. And I thought, what in the world am I doing? And I thought, you know what? I need to just sit here and wait and see what goes on. So I'd probably sit there for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, something like that.
You're waiting to see if the van sinks or not?
Well, yeah, because I didn't know how I was going to get out, because I didn't know if there was quicksand or something. I was going to be walking over, and I thought, I got to come up with a plan here. But I got the bear in the back end. All of a sudden, I thought to myself, what if that bear's not dead? What if it's just stunned? And I'm locked in a bear in the car with a door that won't open, and I thought, I'm out of here. So I left everything, guns and everything I had, and I climbed out, and I just ran as fast as I could, get to the main of the sandy road. When I got to the sandy road, all of a sudden I thought, you know what, I'm just going to walk back. So I started walking, and as I started walking, all of a sudden, I kept thinking to myself, man, where's that cabin? Where's that logging camp that I saw? And kept going, and all of a sudden, I mean, I was walking for like an hour and a half. And I couldn't get anywhere. I mean, I thought, it's not that long. I must be lost, but I'm on the only road that's there. Finally, I don't know, maybe 2 hours later, I come by this logging camp, and I go down, I think, oh, man, these guys can help me, They can pull my van out, or whatever, or get me out, or can get me back to the camp, where Bill Ritchie, the best guide in Northern Ontario is. And so as I got back to that place, all of a sudden, man, I went up and I knocked at the door of the main area where the logging thing was. There was a note on the door. It says, it's Friday. It says, we went to town to go drinking. We'll be back on Monday. I thought, 2 days. I thought, of all the days, I'm lost. So I finally get out and I thought, I just got to walk down that road. So I kept walking. And I have to tell you, I kept walking to the point where all of a sudden I was like, am I ever going to, survive out of this thing? And finally, it got pitch black, and here I was walking. And I tell you, I heard all kinds of noises. I kept thinking, bear going to come out on me? You know, and remember, I don't have a gun. I don't have a flashlight.
You
I
left
have nothing.
You left everything in the sinking van.
Everything in the sinking van. So I go walking down that road, and all of a sudden, here I am. It's pitch black. And I remember I thought to myself, you know what? I'm now questioning whether I'm going to make it. Because I kept thinking to myself, if I run into a moose with a calf or something else, that moose is probably, and this is the time of the year, you know, when the bulls are, you know, into their prime. And I mean, there's everything out here could attack me. I mean, I've got wolves, I've got, you know, Wolverine, I've got all kinds of animals that are out here. And I thought to myself, I am food here. I am not top of the chain. I am food. And I thought, I got to think this through. Finally, it must have been like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I have to tell you, one of the first times in my life, I just kind of gave up. And I thought, what I got to do is I got to protect myself. And because I may have to go through an entire night out here if I can get through this night of survival. So I took off my boots and I put them in the middle of the road. And I thought, if nothing else, somebody will find me. I put a stick in the middle, made a little arrow out of it, you know, pointing to where I was. And I went over to the side of this bank, and the bank was all sand. And I dug out this area, and I put my boots in the middle of the road so nobody could see me. And I went over it, and I got in the area, and I covered myself up with sand because it was cold. It got colder and colder, you know. And I didn't have anything like I should be wearing, you know, in this kind of cold. So here I was, covered in sand, buried up to my neck, my hands. And I remember looking up at the moon, and I kept thinking to myself, you know what? My wife is probably looking at that moon. I'm looking to come find me, rescue me, wherever you are. Somebody's got to come. And I waited. And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't, you know, brush it off. I was just there. And I kept thinking to myself, I hear this noise. It's got to be traffic, like an interstate. But it was just the wind through the trees that was giving us a limb. I was sitting there and waiting. It must have been like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. I saw these headlights coming down the road. Well, now I had no idea who this was. I thought to myself, this could be, you know, some poacher or something else. So I've got to hide. But I thought, well, that's not going to work. I got my boots in the middle of the road with an arrow pointing at me where I'm at. And I thought, I've no gun. I thought, now I'm going to lose it here. This is how I'm going to go. In the middle of that process and waiting for that crazy thing to happen, I looked down there, and all of a sudden, this light came up down the road, and all of a sudden it pulled up and it stopped. And a guy got out to get on the road. It was Bill Ritchie. And I thought, what in the world? And I go, Bill. And he goes, Phil, what are you doing? I said, I shot a bear. Where is it? I said, in the back of my van, in the middle of a marsh, sunk up to the tires. And I said, I can't get it. He goes, what? I go, it's down there. The bear, he said, well, you know what? We can't go over there tonight. He said, so we'll have to get in the car. We went and got in the car, came back, got all the other guys, went back, told them the story of what went on. We got up the next day, went back, got the bear, and that was the end of the story. So it was absolutely crazy. But every adventure was like that. And every time we went bear hunting, there was always something that went on, you know. One time I was there looking at a bear pile, and all of a sudden this great big giant bear comes in, and I had a 50-gallon drum with what was the bait inside, and it had been welded closed. And I thought to myself, it was heavy, all this rotted fish inside. And this bear comes over, and he just takes his hand and just pop, and just spreads it open. And I thought, what in the world? And then he just reaches over, picks up the can, stands up on 2 legs, and walks away with it. I mean, wanders back away. And I thought, are you kidding me? Oh, man, I kept thinking of those times, like, what in the world was going to happen, you know? It's like the one time with Bill Ritchie, I went there, and he said, go to the trees and wait for this bear, and when the bear comes, you know, you can shoot, etc. So I did, and I waited in the trees. The bear came out, shot the bear, came down, and I told him I got the bear, and he goes, you did? And I go, yeah, it's right over here. He goes, well, it's amazing. I said, but I got a question to ask you. I said, there's a pair of men's underwear there that are all covered with, like they've been used. He
like
goes,
feces?
Yeah.
Feces?
And I said,
okay.
what? And he goes, yeah. What's that all about? He goes, oh, it's a long story. I said, what's the story? He said, I had this guy, his first time hunter, and he said, and he came out here and he wanted to go up in the trees. And he said, I was afraid he was going to fall asleep and fall out. So he wanted me to tie him into the tree. So he said, I got up in the top of the tree and I tied the guy in. And when I tied him in, he said, all of a sudden I realized that it's at night that these mosquitoes, which are about 4 inches long, come out. And this guy is covered with all kinds of stuff. You know, I mean, the mosquitoes are on him, everything else, and he can't get out because the guy's tied him into the chair up in a tree. Ah. Anyway, so the guy came down the next night. He goes, you know what? He goes, I want to tell you what. He said, I'm scared to death of seeing a bear. I've never seen one before, and I'm afraid the bear is going to climb up the tree and eat me. He goes, it won't climb up in the tree. He goes, you don't know that. He said, and if it does, he said, I could just lose it. Well, anyway, the guy goes out the next day. He says, don't tie me in the tree. He goes up in the tree and he waits. And Bill Ritchie, the guide, said, well, you shoot the bear. And if you shoot the bear, you shoot again and I'll come in. He said, okay, but I'll wait for that second shot. So he got there and all of a sudden he said, the guy hadn't told me anything, but he said, I heard the shot go off. Bill Ritchie, the guide, said, boom. And I waited. And rather than the next shot come, it was like maybe 10, 15 minutes later, boom, I heard again. And I thought, well, he said, I don't understand it. He walks in, gets in there, and the guy's sitting there. He goes, I shot a bear. He goes, where is this? Right over there. He said, you're kidding me. He goes, no. He said, come on, I'll show you. And he's right over there, the bear. So they got the bear and they went back and the whole thing. He goes, you know, he said, that guy told me, he said that when he got up there and that bear came in, that he crapped his pants. Because he was scared to death. I said, what? He goes, yeah. So he said, what the guy did was he crapped his pants when he found the bear, shot the bear, climbed down the tree, took his underpants off, pulled him there and left him on the side, didn't want anybody to see him because it was embarrassing. And then he finally shot again and said, I got the bear, come and get him, and all thing like that. But there are all kinds of those stories that took place like that. You know, the one guy who was sitting in this log cabin, these are these wilderness bears, you know, who have no concept of what a human is. And he said, I was sitting there looking out the window, and he said my bait area was going to be over here, so I sat in this old log cabin. I was looking out through the window, and all of a sudden I heard this little scratchy noise going on. I didn't know what it was. And he said, I looked up, and there was a chipmunk right by the window. Well, he said, I had some peanuts with me. You know, he always takes something to snack on or eat, or he takes a peanut and lays it on the counter like that, lays it on the shelf, whatever. All of a sudden, he's like, oh, okay, great, excellent. So he's sitting there, and all of a sudden, you know, you get bored because you're just waiting, you know. And anyway, so all of a sudden he hears this scratchy sound again, and he goes out and he looks again. There's that bear. He puts that little chipmunk, and he puts a little peanut right there, you know, and the whole thing. And the chipmunk gets it and takes off, etc. This goes on for a little while, and all of a sudden he hears that scratch again, whatever. He said, I put another peanut up there, he said, and all of a sudden this bear comes, puts his head through the window and just looks at me. He goes, what? He goes, whoa! You know, so there's always this adventure and encounter with these animals that you never quite know what's going to happen, but that's the adventure part of it, you know. It's part of the story. And it's part of the story to watch not only yourself but other people go through this experience and to see what it's like. It's like when we said to him, he said, we said we'd like to take the bear meat back home. He goes, you want to take it back home? What do you want to do? We said, well, we're going to eat it. He goes, have you ever eaten bear meat before? He goes, no. He said, I believe that. He said, do you know how to cook bear meat? I said, no. How do you cook bear meat? He goes, what you do is you chop up the meat, you make it in steaks. He said, you try to get the tenderest meat possible. You put it in a pan of water and you boil it. You boil it, and you boil it, and boil it for about an hour. And then you throw in 3 rocks. And then you boil it until the rocks get soft. And when they get soft, then you take it out, you eat the rock, and you throw the bear meat away. He goes, it's the rottenest stuff you've ever eaten. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. He goes, oh, no. The whole thing. So anyway, great adventure all about those kinds of animals and all the way through.